more things change, the more they stay the same. Another postseason has flown by and the Super Bowl is beginning to come into view. Before we get there though, we have some teams to eulogize as they came up short. Shall we? So much for having luck this go around. It's not due to a lack of effort. The Colts themselves played a good game on both sides of the ball. The problem was that they failed to execute when it was truly needed. Against a team like Buffalo, they needed to be perfect, not just good. Several key plays would be their undoing. A failed fourth down conversion where Michael Pittman couldn't come down with the ball, and a patented doink from that nerd named Blankenship. It sucks because they weren't the wrong calls for the given situations, they just failed on them. Indy would give them a fight, but it just wasn't enough, even for that terrible call that kept them in the game. Buffalo clamped down and won their first playoff game in 25 years. It's a vintage Phillip Rivers loss, and it might be his last. Go join Moon and Fouts as the greats who never made it to a Super Bowl. Dadgummit. The Horde has been vanquished. The endless reign of terror on countless villages across the NFL landscape is over, and you can thank it all to the Ravens. They saw the game plan the Packers put on and executed it to perfection. If you stop Derrick Henry, you stop this offense. And they did. The Titans were limited because Tannehill can't carry a team by himself. Lamar was iffy in the passing game, but if you can't stop his feet, you're going to be in trouble. It's not that they were bad, but Baltimore just had excellent scheming. I can't say the same for whatever Mike Vrabel was thinking, though. In the fourth quarter, down by 4, it's a 4th and 2 at the Ravens' 40. They punt. Vrabel, what the fuck are you doing? I thought you were supposed to be an aggressive, analytically inclined coach, like a conservative, and allow the Ravens to eat more clock off. That decision might have cost you the season. By the way, you remember celebrating on their logo after you beat them in overtime this year? How about a reverse card? Absolutely fucking pathetic. One of the most useless displays of football I have ever seen out of the Steelers. It started from the first snap. Literally. Cleveland came into a team that was overconfident and talking shit. Players going off about how the Browns is the Browns, and they got fucking smacked. Throughout that first quarter, I watched as an entire franchise died on the field. There were a lot of questions and doubters about this team, and they were all proven right. People will be delusional because Ben was able to throw 10-yard passes against a backup secondary playing prevent defense in garbage time, but this team has been flat out exposed. They have learned nothing. Great, Randy Fichtner's not going to be here next season because his contract conveniently expired. He should have been fired 2 years ago. So why the fuck is Ben going to trot his cooked ass out for another year? He should be cut, but that's not how the Steelers work. And that's why Cleveland gets their first great moment since their new franchise was born. Good work. You brought a much-needed humbling to an entire city. They subjected kids to this team. That's borderline abuse. Fuck's sake, even adults don't want to watch the Bears. What with how bland they are offensively without Mooney or Roquan Smith? It's pretty much what I've been saying about them for weeks. They were mediocrity defined, buoyed up by playing weak teams. Trubisky was replacement level, the running game could do nothing, and the defense tried but couldn't stop the flood from rushing in eventually. Imagine being a child seeing this on Nickelodeon. You either give up on football because this team is bad, or worse, become a Bears fan. With the McCaskies, no one wins. But don't worry, Jimmy Graham made a great catch in garbage time, so everyone's getting extended for 5 years. How the fuck are you impressed with Nagy or Pace after this year? At least I can give them points for putting up a good effort. Against Tampa Bay, they were expected to be dead to rights, especially since Alex Smith was going to be out in what could have been his final breath as a pro. It's not really worth noting since Taylor Heineke had a damn good game, all things considered. Definitely made himself some money in the offseason. Too bad they couldn't get it done, but the Bucs remained one step ahead throughout. They were just better, and it showed in the final result. Throughout the football land, Giants fans are salty as it could have been them getting their asses kicked at home. Tough shit, you fuckers. This is Washington's loss to feel proud of. Go somewhere else. That was one of the most gutless fucking performances ever witnessed in public. Chef Russ, the culinary artiste of the Seahawks, all he did was serve up undercooked dog shit to his patrons throughout the game. What the hell happened to this offense? Weren't they supposed to be, good? I get the Rams are excellent in spurts, but what the fuck was that? They were without Aaron Donald for most of the second half. Their offense didn't even have a healthy quarterback for most of the fucking game. Yet they revealed themselves to be total frauds. It's what I was fearing they were, but I didn't want to believe it. They get it together for the postseason, I thought. Sure as shit didn't look like it here. How do you live with yourselves after this? It's shameful to watch even as an outsider. Although that doesn't solve the real problem. I think it's Carroll. Yet very few 12s will admit it in the inner circles. This team is raw and taking the piss. Do me a favor. Give me your jacket and fuck off. hopefully from the edge of a pier.
Absolutely useless.
Wasted opportunities. A group that will flash sections of brilliance only to crumble when they have the chance to do something great. Buffalo was looking quite beatable, but the Ravens, like the past few years, could not capitalize. When Justin Tucker has 2 doinks in a game, it was a sheer failure to launch. And most of that issue lies on the offense itself. The running game was going up the Matterhorn during an avalanche. I give you some sympathy, but Lamar Jackson took a chance to tie up the game and proceeded to give up a pick 6. Shortly after, he is pulled out of the game and doesn't return. Sadly, concussions aren't going to lead him out of the bathroom and into victory. The problem with the Ravens is that you will always want more out of them. But can they really give it to you? Lamar may have reached his peak and the Greg Roman offense has severe flaws. It's an offseason where Baltimore really needs to soul search. What do they truly want to be? That's some tough luck the Browns have. I will give them props, they played as well as I had expected them to. And they had the best season they've had since they returned to the league. The issue here isn't anything they did. It isn't the Chiefs themselves, but what wasn't. This fumble arguably cost Cleveland the game. That wonderful rule which states it's a touchback if it bounces into the end zone reared its head. Plus, they get the bonus of an uncalled helmet-to-helmet hit, so add in ref ball to the mix. Despite them closing in on the Chiefs, potentially going in for the kill, and Mahomes out with a concussion, they just can't get it done in the end. Kansas City revs up the clutch and the Browns go home. It's painful, but it's softened by their first playoff win in 25 years. They'll be back here again. I wouldn't worry about it too hard. Let's be real, you were fortunate to even get to this point. The injuries the Rams dealt with in key positions, it would have been impossible to reach the Super Bowl, but I'll give them extra credit for trying. Going into Lambeau was a near impossible task and it proved to be too much in the end. Green Bay merely toyed with their prey. A visibly hobbled Aaron Donald. They may get a nick of flesh here and there and they do their damnedest to keep it close, but it merely delays the inevitable. The gods strike them down with the deep ball. It's a better year than expected, but there are still questions. What the hell do you do at quarterback? There is much to be desired from Goff, but he's locked into a massive contract. Jim Everett 2.0 will not get you a Super Bowl without an outstanding supporting cast. And I don't know if they can do it with the money they've spent on him. That's why I'm not paid the big bucks to decide these things. Failure. This is all the Saints have produced over the past 10 years. Whenever they've needed to perform, whenever faced with a challenge that needs to be overcome, this team does nothing but squander them. You knew this was your last chance before the fires of Cap Hell come for you. Yet what do? Wither and die in their own stadium. Drew Brees had a performance rivaling Marino against Jacksonville in 2000. He was overcooked before he hit the oven. How are you supposed to feel when a man who's carried a team for years is one of the main reasons why they lost? Sad? Remorseful? Bitter? Against a Bucs team they crushed both times they met in the regular season? No, the only feeling the Saints should be experiencing is fear. Fear for the inevitable nuking that this roster is going to go through in the offseason. They're already almost $100 million over the cap for next season, and the time has come to pay up. The final price is a golden window slammed shut before a pile of waste, and the only thing they can blame for it are themselves. You're fucked. Have a nice life in hell. Everywhere throughout the country, many innocent tables are breathing a sigh of relief. The great genocide against their kind has been ceased. Buffalo has faded back to misery and resignation. They were nowhere near the level of the Chiefs. It's ironic how they managed to play a complete and efficient game against a team begging for hope. There was no chance. Kansas City was simply the better team in all facets. A tough loss is their fate. You can't be too hard on them since it was the greatest season they've had in almost 30 years, but fuck, this is anticlimactic. They're still the eternal bridesmaids. This game shows that they need more, but where do they get it from? Josh Allen? Possibly. Just take it as a learning experience. You did well this season. Kind of proud of the Bills in a way. You had opportunities. You had them all fucking game long. Yet when all things align perfectly, when everything is given to a team to head back to a Super Bowl, Green Bay goes on a rampage of pants-shitting and self-immolating. Every goddamn chance they had to make a statement, they failed miserably. Of course, it's against the one team everyone wants you to beat, so why not give up a Hail Mary to win the second quarter? The fuck is proper scheming? I don't give a shit. Let Kevin King get burned all goddamn game. God damn it, Green Bay. Tampa Bay is giving you every single shot to win in the second half. 3 straight picks for Brady. What does the offense do in return? Fucking nothing. 6 points off of 3 turnovers. Pathetic. The only thing worse is them trying to score in the red zone. Really, LaFleur? You're gonna kick a field goal in the fourth quarter down by 8? Kindly fuck off. Yes, they did get fucked by a questionable call in the end, but you know what would have helped? Not pissing away the other chances you had to win. Fuck you, Packers. The NFC North will take your excess salt to clear the roads.
You had an opportunity, and you blew it.
In the distance, you will see entire cities being extracted of record amounts of salt from this postseason. From Pittsburgh to Green Bay, it is a bonanza of sodium chloride. Now show me who's coming from the AFC. The defending champion will have a chance to repeat as champion. There was a part of me that didn't think they'd make it here. It wasn't due to doubting their talent, but they were lacking consistency throughout the season. There were far too many times where they would stall out. The Chiefs would tease with their incredible game-breaking abilities on occasion, but it wasn't often. However, it was more than enough to win the games they needed to win. Perhaps this game against Buffalo proved that they have the mettle to play a full 60-minute matchup. Their ability to score almost at will is something rivaling the greatest show on turf. Patrick Mahomes still as reality-defying as ever, leading the way. The only difference this time is that the Patrick price was steep. It's an insane deal, but let's just say it's deserved. The way he's transformed this offense with his feet in the deep ball? Like it or not, it's the future of the NFL. Mahomes is going to be here for a while. And perhaps with time, the Chiefs will become as hated as a certain team from New England. Kansas City are in good hands. His chorus is relatively similar to last season, barring a few upgrades at running back. His new toys to work with include Clyde Edwards-Helaire, their first-round pick this season, adding a new dynamic to a team with his rushing prowess. Behind him, nothing crazy, just Le'Veon Bell. He's not what he was a few years ago, but he's still a good safety valve for the passing game. Plus, he's free from the Jets. That's always good. His receiving core, roughly the same as last year. This is a good thing for them. Tyreek Hill with game-breaking elusiveness, McCole Hardman and his blazing speed. Travis Kelce boasting his strong pass-catching abilities down the middle of the field. They can stretch and scheme in any way they can. Mahomes isn't 100% due to a concussion, they can get around that. They can play aggressively, they can be methodical and conservative, they're fluid and adaptable to situations. And that is what makes them deadly. Losing Eric Fisher to injury will be tough, but if there's any team that can overcome this, it's the Chiefs. Team defense is relatively the same as last year, despite losing a few players to free agency. The front four still boasts Chris Jones and Frank Clark, terrorizing opposing tackles with speed and power. Anthony Hitchens and Damian Wilson patrolling the second level. Daniel Sorensen and the Honey Badger roving the safety positions. They have bent in spots, but still have the ability to change games. Their convincing win over Buffalo proved it. The Chiefs unfortunately don't have the same feel-good story that they had last year. Instead of a 50-year Super Bowl drought, it's a mere one. Although it's felt like 50. Once again, elite talent and scheming lead the way. Their offensive might had them as favorites to repeat before the year. So far, it appears that it could play out that way again. Although an old friend of theirs from years past will have something to say about that. I did say at the beginning of the postseason that this team would be boom or bust. Guess which path they decided to choose. Football fans wish that the remnants of the evil empire died off in the explosion of the Death Star, but we weren't thorough enough. They have survived and regrouped. They have recruited the disenfranchised souls of Tampa Bay to reinforce their ranks. And with this newfound army, they have brought about another siege against all things respectable. The only victors here are the NFL due to the ratings boon that all of their haters will bestow upon them on Super Sunday. Tom fucking Brady, why won't you die? I saw you as a shell of yourself last year in New England. Going to Tampa Bay was supposed to be the sad swan song of a legendary career. Alas, this year has merely added more to his legend. In fact, it shed more than a few myths about him being a system QB. It took a bit, but he settled into the high-flying Arians offense, despite taking more pressure than he's accustomed to. In his quest, he's conquered the dream matchups of years past. He defeated Breeze. He defeated Rodgers. He defeated something resembling a team. He defeated narratives. With this Super Bowl, he's not fighting for football immortality, but something more. To be put in the same echelon as the likes of Jordan, Gretzky, and Ruth, the greatest sports players of all time. All I can do is be bitter at this 43-year-old and his black magic bringing him back to his prime. I despise it, yet I respect it at the same time. It's complicated with him. He is complemented by a chorus of the elite and those seeking redemption. Ronald Jones no longer in the doghouse by his side. Leonard Fournette freed from Jacksonville in reserve. There's also a Shady McCoy in there lounging in a press box, but he'd probably rather be on the field. At wide receiver, weapons galore. Mike Evans, the main star of the show, once again proving that he should be in the running for best receiver in the game. Chris Godwin, emerging as a legitimate number 2 beside him. The diminutive white wide receiver role is filled nicely by Scotty Miller. And an old friend has also returned to the game, Rob Gronkowski. He's not the same as he was, but he's still a viable pass-catching option for an offense that needed more spark. There's also another wideout they signed during the year as well. We don't talk about him. The scars are still too fresh. What isn't, though, is the team defense. Under Todd Bowles, they've become a feisty, well-rounded unit. Their pass rushers are some of the best in the game. Shaq Barrett has become a game-changer for them on this front. And with Jason Pierre-Paul still performing on the other side, it's hell for offensive lines. This also doesn't mention that they have Ndamukong Suh eating up space in the middle. The second level doesn't get easier. Longtime Buccaneer Levante David and newfound sensation Devin White control this zone with tenacity. In the secondary, the group is very young but emerging by the day. Carlton Davis ignoring his performance against Tyreek Hill has been strong. Sean Murphy bunting at his coming out party against Green Bay. Antoine Winfield Jr. and Jordan Whitehead in the safety positions. It's a team that needed a legitimate quarterback to go the extra mile. And so far, they've gotten it. We all thought Tom Brady would be done by now. He unfortunately is not. Tampa Bay is the benefactor of this scenario. They once had the longest playoff drought in the NFC. But now, a chance to win their first Super Bowl in almost 20 years. The rest of the league hates it. What I also hate? The fact that either Le'Veon Bell or Antonio Brown will walk away from this as a champion. The shit they pulled while they were with the Steelers has left me salty as hell. And while at least you can make the argument that Bell just wanted money, AB burned bridges in possibly 3 different cities. I hate everything. Life is pain. While the rest of us fear the second coming of Warriors versus Cavs, who will be lording over all of us this offseason. The normal reaction would be to say that Kansas City's offense is so powerful that the Buccaneers' young secondary cannot overcome it. The same thing occurred in the regular season despite Tampa's efforts late in the game. However, if there's one thing I've learned over the past year, it's to always assume the worst-case scenario, because it will somehow turn out worse than you fear. Therefore, with that logic, Tom Brady will age back 10 years and lead the Bucs to a second ring. He will then Thanos snap half of the NFL into ash, and assume his lordship over the remains. It might as well be so at this point. We're fucked.
Players and coaches and fans and everyone, you have to remember this all your life.
That's tipped, and that's a 5th pick of the game by Dwight Smith. And again, Dwight Smith is going to take it down the sideline into the end zone. Wow.